A very good afternoon to one and all present here. I'd like to welcome our respected chief guest, Mr. Shabri Nair, Mr. Jacob Thomas, President, Mrs. Sarah Jacob, Senior Vice President of Student and Staff Welfare, Mrs. Deepa Suresh, Headmistress, Academic Council members, teachers, Secretariat, Admin, and distinguished delegates.
Today marks the end of a remarkable experience, and I'm sure none of us will forget.
To start the ceremony, I'd like to call upon Kaina Gulia, Secretary General of GSMUN 2024, to enlighten us with her insightful words.
Good afternoon, delegates, esteemed guests, and the OC. A very wise man once said that chairs or the secretariat is not GSMUN. It's the delegates that give this event its true essence. Which is why, as I stand here today, with immense pride, I can say the GSMUN 2024 was a grand success. And if I may, it was definitely better than the years before. Right from the very first ROP session to what can only be described as fiery dance moves, and to the very last vote on the resolution papers, I have watched not just our delegates, but our chairs truly grow. They've become more confident. More importantly, they have all developed the world's most demanded skill in today's interconnected landscape: diplomacy. They have learned how to present their perspectives and stances in a respectful yet assertive manner. From our very first session, it was clear that each of you brought just not your intellect and passion, but also a commitment to making the world a better place. You've tackled pressing global issues with creativity and conviction, embodying the ideals of the United Nations. Whether discussing climate change, human rights, or international security, each of you has contributed to a dialogue that is crucial to our collective future. I think the highlight of this GSMUN for me was watching two of our chairs settle an age-old feud as UN representatives in a third committee. I must also acknowledge the chair of UNODC and the co-head of the admin team for their killer moves on stage last night, which I am sure will go down in history and serve as an example for the MUNs to come. Jokes apart, I want to express my most sincere gratitude to Vivek, Taran, Hari Tessia, and the entire admin team who spend their days running across campus to ensure the smooth functioning of all our committees. Nagal has been an invaluable source of strength and support, always putting the need of others before him. Further, Parthiv and Arush have produced high-quality videos and have gone far beyond any and all expectations that I had for the IT team. Nandika, head of design team, has put in effort from the very first day that has resulted in beautiful flexes and decorations for all committees. I cannot thank her enough for everything she has done, and especially for taking up all the responsibility that she did. Furthermore, the socials event last night looked like it was straight out of the 80s, a direct result of the hours and hours of work put in by the admin team, which we all witnessed yesterday, are talented across various fields. Another esteemed member of our organizing committee, perhaps the most talented of us all, is our teacher head, Mr. Nishant Kushwaha. Sir, you have made this month the most wonderful yet. Despite all the conflict resolution, hours of staring at spreadsheets, and running across campus, I would go back and do it again all in a heartbeat. And I know the Deputy Secretaries General would too. I must thank both Ridan and Rajveer for all their support and witty remarks. They've provided invaluable support for me and all the other heads. This event would not have been the same without them. As I conclude, I'm proud to announce that all 13 committees have passed and none have failed. I'm immensely proud of our delegates for creating this wonderful experience and making it the most memorable yet. Once again, I must thank everyone who helped make this event the success that it has been, and that giving up after dinner meetings will be the most difficult part of letting all this go. Signing off, Kaina Gulyas, the Secretary General of GSMUN 2024.
Thank you, Kaina.
Now, we will have the speeches by the chairs of each committee. They will be sharing their experience in leading the various forums.
Beginning the speeches, we have the head of the Historical Crisis Committee, Dhruva Umachagi, to share his thoughts.
Good afternoon to distinguished guests, esteemed delegates, and everyone present here. As we wrap up this year's GSMUN, I want to extend a warm welcome to everyone present here. It's been an honor to chair the Historical Crisis Committee and engage with such and engage with such dedicated individuals who are probably wondering how they ended up in a room filled with history enthusiasts. Over the past few days, we've had thrilling discussions that felt like a ride through a pivotal history event, assessing strategies and forging alliances that shape nations. Our first day kicked off with a jaw dropping update about the Soviet Union developing a bioweapon during the Battle of the Stalingrad. This led to some heated debates about Germany's reckless violation of the Nazi Soviet Pact. Meanwhile, the delegate of USSR was positioned as an international lawbreaker. Both the German and Soviet delegations were engaged in lively discussions while trying to sniff out the imposter amongst them. Because what's a crisis without a little intrigue? You delegates have made history come alive in an exciting way. On the second day of the conference, delegates focused on crafting directives on the ethical implications of the Soviet spy network. While the mood was serious, light-hearted exchanges emerged. Representatives of Nazi Germany and Italy engaged in a spirited debate with the USSR and United States over bioweapons. They also poked fun at the delegate of USSR for the lack of military administration. After the updates, delegates eagerly drafted the directives, but tensions flared when Nazi Germany challenged their chair, igniting a lively debate. The first directive from the Allied powers passed unanimously. Let's give them a huge round of applause. However, after lunch, the mood shifted when the Italian delegate declared, whatever amendment comes from our own bloc is friendly. In a twist, delegates from their own bloc proposed striking all clauses, and the chair reluctantly agreed, creating a headache for the Axis powers. As we wrapped up for the day, both the chairs, channeling their inner world leaders, made presidential statements that had everyone raising their eyebrows. In a shocking twist, Adolf Hitler had announced that he was all about peace. He promised to pull back all his troops and return the countries he claimed, leaving everyone wondering. On the final day of the MUN, delegates united not as Axis or allies, but as a merged bloc decided to create a resolution and a treaty, the Treaty of Frieden, addressing World War issues. As the chair fired off questions, delegates passionately debated. The Historical Crisis Committee made sure that the history did not repeat by proposing the creations of the Nations of United, not United Nations, promoting conflict resolution through dialogue instead of drama. I want to express my sincere thanks to my deputy chair, Nanjappa, for always being there to help me in tricky situations and providing such great updates. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to everyone who's made this year's GSMUN a memorable experience. Your contributions have truly made a difference. Thank you. Signing off, the head of HCC, Dhruva.
Thank you, Dhruva. Up next, we have the chair of the World Health Organization, Shreyan Chaudhary.
Welcome, honorable delegates and esteemed guests. As we gather here today on this Saturday, we mark the conclusion of our Model United Nations Conference, where we have passionately debated and collaborated on the critical issues facing global health. It has been an honor to chair the World Health Organization Committee, and I'm immensely proud of the progress that we have made so far. I'm filled with a profound sense of pride and gratitude. Over the past few days, we have engaged in rigorous debates, shared diverse perspectives, and worked collaboratively to address one of the most pressing issues faced by conflict-affected zones, the strategies for rehabilitating health recovery systems in conflict-affected regions with a specific focus on the Gaza Strip. Our journey over the past 3 days has been an absolute roller coaster, from delegates suggesting buying a drone from India and repurposing it into a medicine supply drone, to Russia nearly declaring war on Japan because of a question that was not phrased correctly. And the delegate of Germany somehow always seemingly to waste 7 minutes by just saying, delegates, I would not like to waste your time because this is a critical issue. And a huge round of applause for the delegate of Iran, who was one of the most outstanding delegates. Delegates of WHO will know why. Go ahead and ask them if you have any queries. During the crisis on the third day, the delegates were so engrossed in tackling the crisis that their knowledge of foreign policy documents emerged in full measure. We could see interesting and thrilling discussions during the crisis, which nearly made both me and Dhiren want to jump into the crisis ourselves and write a resolution. Throughout this MUN, we've engaged in deep and meaningful dialogue, sharing insights, experiences, and strategies that highlight the urgent need for comprehensive health interventions in areas ravaged by conflict. We have explored innovative strategies to rebuild health system, emphasizing the importance of community-based approaches that empower local populations. By prioritizing mental health, maternal and child health services, and access to essential medicines, we can begin to heal the wounds inflicted by years of conflict. The voices of those affected must guide our efforts, ensuring that our strategies are not only effective but also culturally sensitive and inclusive. Taking all of this into account, I'm proud to say that our committee has successfully passed one resolution. While many of us would like to extend our time at this MUN, we must remember that all good things do come to an end. In closing, I urge each and every one of you to take the insights gained from this MUN conference into your other MUN conferences that you will take up ahead. Together, we can turn our discussions into actions, fostering a healthier and a more peaceful future for all. As we move forward, let us remember the words of Albert Einstein. I quote, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them," I unquote. Let us embrace innovative solutions and fresh perspectives as we strive to make a difference. Thank you once again for your participation, your passion, and your commitment to making the world a healthier place. I wish you all the very best in your MUN journeys, and we look forward to seeing the positive changes you will bring to our global community. Signing off, the head of WHO, Shreyansh.
Thank you, Shreyansh. Now we have the chair of Spec Poll, Pratham Hardik Chedda.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, and distinguished delegates. As we come to the conclusion of our three-day committee, SPECPOL, the Special Political and Decolonization Committee, I would like to recognize the significant discussions we had regarding the repatriation of historical artifacts. The delegates firstly explored the historical context of artifact repatriation, where they provided intricate narratives of artifacts that were taken during colonial periods and the ethical reasons to return them. The committee came across recent agreements, such as the US-India Cultural Property Agreement, which tries to increase collaboration to streamline repatriation efforts of artifacts which were illegally obtained. On the other hand, the delegates of United Kingdom and Germany brought about compelling reasoning behind the refusal to return certain artifacts. The second day focused on specific repatriation examples, where a heated debate on the return of the Kohinoor invigorated the delegates to construct well-rounded solutions. The delegates discussed global initiatives aimed at combating illicit trafficking and promoting transparency in collections management, echoing sentiments from recent reports that advocate for large-scale repatriation by former colonial powers. The crisis on the third day sent shockwaves through our committee, as it not only threatened to undermine the efforts of our committee, but also sparked heated debates about decolonization of the Southeast Asian countries. In response to this crisis, the delegates quickly mobilized. We initiated an emergency session to address the implications of the takeover by China, Russia, and North Korea. Representatives from affected nations passionately articulated their concerns, emphasizing the need for urgent action to prevent the colonization, while the nations from the West developed strategies to mitigate the colonization. We witnessed exemplary diplomacy at work as delegates worked collectively to draft a resolution that emphasized the importance of international cooperation in protecting cultural heritage. We ended our committee with one resolution paper passing. I urge all delegates to carry forward the momentum generated during this GSMUN. Let us advocate for policies that promote transparency in museum practices and encourage collaboration between nations. Thank you all for the dedication and insightful contributions over the past 3 days. Together, we can work towards a future where cultural heritage is respected and preserved for generations to come.
Thank you, Pratham. Up next, we have the Chair of the United Nations Security Council, Karan Gautambai Patel.
3 days, 19 delegates, one executive board, and the result is the United Nations Security Council. Good afternoon to one and all present here. These 3 days of GSMUN can be described in a single adjective: supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. That was a lot. While this word may be as hard to pronounce, it perfectly encapsulates the 3 days of experience that we have shared in the United Nations Security Council. The committee has been nothing short of a roller coaster of emotions, with speeches flowing out and debate topics coming in. The atmosphere was electric, with topics of debate flowing in. We engaged in vibrant exchange of comments and questions that prompted deep reflection not just on the delegates but even on the executive board. The manner in which these statements and positions were articulated made it feel as though the representatives of each country were standing just right in front of us and debating. It actually felt like the United Nations Security Council just gathered up within few minutes. I must commend the committee for taking the principle of being formal to their hearts. Delegate engaged in diplomatic dialogues even during the unmoderated caucuses, showcasing their commitment to decorum and professionalism. The intensity of our discussions reached heights during particularly the fiery 3v3 debate where Germany, the UK, and South Korea faced off against China and India, along with Iran. This confrontation was not just a debate, it was a clash of ideologies and strategies that highlighted the complexities of international relations. Thank you all for participation and dedication to making this GSMN session an unforgettable experience. Together, we have not only debated but also forged connection that transcend borders. Thank you.
Thank you, Karan. Now we have Sanchita Tiwari, the chair of the United Nations Environmental Program, to share her insights.
Wow. Months of hard work concentrated into 3 days. All of it 100% worth it. I cannot believe that the MUN is over, that I will no longer be going to meetings in the Mowbray Hall almost every night, debating which committee and agenda should be there and where the venue should be. Chairing a junior committee was not even close to what I had expected. Each and every delegate in the UNEP participated with zeal and enthusiasm, and I couldn't be more proud. Your passion, creativity, and determination have been truly inspiring, and I'm confident that the solutions we have discussed here will make a real difference in the world. Allegations were raised and rebuttals were made, but most importantly, true diplomacy was achieved. Imagine a committee coming together and presenting one single draft resolution. No one was trying to put the others down, and everyone was simply trying to strive for a more sustainable planet. If only these delegates were the ones in the office, we would be much better off. Be it sending more than 70 chits to one delegate, or finding out that China is a developing nation, some extremely memorable moments took place. Be it having only 2 people in one block during the crisis, or a resolution getting amendments from the co-head of the UNGA, some extremely interesting moments also took place. I saw the most organized unmods of my life. The delegate of USA led everyone to the stage where they stood in a circle and decided to make a resolution together. As someone who's used to seeing a lot more chaos during unmods, this was surely a pleasant surprise. I would like to thank Sachi, our assigned admin member, Aditi and Mahati, members of the social media team, Kelly, our OC member, Manav, our press member, Angeline Miss, Sudesh sir, and Arul Murugan sir, our assigned teachers, Ashika, our photographer, and obviously, Kush, my co-head. Finally, as the head of the UNEP, I want to thank you, the delegates, for your commitment. And even though there can be only one best delegate, you all have earned that donut treat.
Thank you, Sanchita. Up next, we have the chair of the Trilateral Summit, Agam Amit Cheda.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed delegates and distinguished guests, as we gather here today to mark the conclusion of the GSMUN 2024, I am filled with immense pride and gratitude. Over the past 3 days, we have navigated complex decisions in the Trilateral Summit, focusing on the intricate geopolitical dynamics of Iran and Saudi Arabia that affect the Yemeni civil war. Together, we drafted a resolution that not only passed but also highlighted our collective commitment to addressing the pressing concerns facing the Yemeni civil war. This achievement is a testament to your hard work, dedication, and collaborative spirit. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the organizing committee and the administrative team. Your tireless efforts throughout this committee sessions let us function our committee smoothly, allowing us to engage in meaningful dialogue and debate. Without your dedication, this conference would have not been possible. Also, you've set a truly standard that excellence and organizing in such an event. Now, as we reflect on our serious discussions, I can't help but chuckle at some lighter moments that unfold during our sessions. Who could forget the internal conflicts between the delegation of Iran's defense minister and the president of Iran? It was like watching a political soap opera unfold right before our eyes. Their passionate debates certainly kept us all entertaining. And then there were those moments when delegates held their placards upside down clearly, where these delegates were focused on making a statement more than being recognized. It's just a reminder that sometimes all we need is a little help with direction. Moreover, I'm incredibly proud of how delegates managed to stabilize the crisis with remarkable calmness. I, and in an unpredictable turn of events, in many joint forces with the perceived enemies, the Houthis, to collectively address the humanitarian needs and foster dialogue. The spirit of cooperation exemplifies the existence of diplomacy. In closing, let us carry the lessons learned and friendships formed during this conference. The spirit of diplomacy is alive within each of you, and I am confident that you will continue to advocate for peace and understanding in your future endeavors. Thank you all for participation and enthusiasm throughout this GSMUN 2024. Let's continue to be catalysts for change and champions for justice. Thank you. Signing off, the head of Trilateral Summit, Agam.
Thank you, Agam. Now, we will have the chair of the United Nations General Assembly, Reenav Jignesh Shah.
Ladies and gentlemen, how can I even begin to explain these incredible past few days? It's been an emotional roller coaster. As we draw this monumental session of the GSMUN to a close, I can't help but feel like we just witnessed the great Super Bowl of diplomacy, high stakes, brilliant plays, and a whole lot of energy. Let's start by revisiting that unforgettable face-off between UK and China. Honestly, it felt like a championship bout, except the gloves were off and the debate points were flying. The UK delegate threw some sharp jabs, and our resilient friend from China stood their ground. The Think of it as a family game night, just with fewer snacks and a lot of more geopolitical firework. And how could we forget the delegate of Israel? You delivered points so precise, cutting, I half expected someone to call off a ceasefire there on the floor. Truly, your arguments have the sharpness of a well owned blade. Props for that unforgettable mic drop moment. But beyond the humor and competitive banter, let's take a moment to reflect on the heart of this experience. Over the past few days, we've grappled with some of the world's most pressing issues: ethics of power, through the complexities of international relations, and the responsible use of influence. Through spirited debates, passionate speeches, and moments of real collaboration, we've shown that even when we don't see eye to eye, dialogue can bridge to a greater understanding. This conference wasn't just about owning your debate skills, though, let's be honest, many of you could give seasoned diplomats a run for the money. It was about forging connections, learning from diverse perspectives, and preparing to make an impact in the world. As we go through our separate ways, let's carry forward these lessons we've learned and the friendships we've built. Whether your future lies in politics, business, activism, or any field, making a difference matters. Remember the power of your voice, the importance of collaboration, and the potential of collective action. Thank you all for your incredible energy, enthusiasm, and insight. Signing off, the head of UNGA.
Thank you, Rinav. Now we have the chair of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, Saket Sanjeev Paitankar.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, and honored delegates, as we gather here for the closing ceremony of this model United Nations, I stand before you as the head of Asian Committee with a deep sense of pride and responsibility. Our discussions over the past few days have been pivotal in addressing the complex implications of conflicts in the South Asian region, particularly focusing on China's involvement and the ramifications of One China policy. First and foremost, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to each and every delegate for their insightful contributions and passionate debates. Your commitment to understanding these intricate issues has not only enriched our discussions, but has also underscored the importance of diplomacy and resolving conflicts. Throughout our sessions, we have explored various dimensions of China's influence in South Asia, particularly its assertive stance regarding Taiwan and its broader implications for regional stability. And as Kaina pointed out, when the heads of UNW and SPECPOL took part in our debate, confronting one another with merely dominating the stage, our committee became charged and lively. This was the greatest one versus one I have witnessed in these 3 days. Our committee needed this debate because it encouraged delegates to debate with confidence. This was evident by the additional pakas that were raised during the sessions that followed. As we conclude our deliberations, it is crucial to recognize that the challenges posed by China's One China policy are not insurmountable. We must advocate for multilateral dialogue that respects the sovereignty of all nations involved. ASEAN has a vital role to play in fostering cooperation and understanding among its members while addressing external pressures. In closing, I really feel sad signing off. This was a great opportunity for me to lead a committee. Let us carry forward the spirit of collaboration that has characterized our discussions here. Thank you to the entire GSMUN 24 community for dedication and participation. I would like to quote this Secretary General of ASEAN. I quote, "Enhancing economic cooperation is not merely imperative. This is a collective responsibility." I unquote. Signing off, Head of ASEAN. Thank you.
Thank you, Saket. Sai Singh, the chair of the Disarmament and International Security Council, will now share his experiences.
My daughter is safer in Spain. Immigration in Germany is out of control. These were the words of one of the most legendary midfielders of all time, Tony Cruz. Good afternoon to one and all present here. In the light of uncontrolled immigration, especially in Europe and the United Kingdom, mass deportation is on top of the lists of many of these countries. However, there are a lot more solutions that can be used instead of mass deportation. Dear delegates, I, Sai Singh, the chair of DISEC, with a giddy but also a crestfallen spirit, would like to reflect on my experiences with the delegates of DISEC across the time span of these 3 days. I was joined by my co-chair, Irene, during these 3 days. On the first day itself, the delegate of of the Dominican Republic raised an absurd motion to nuke Haiti. But the delegate of Haiti emphasized on the fact that the Dominican Republic did not have enough funds to buy any form of nuclear power. The GSLs presented by the delegates played a pivotal role in shaping the base of these intense debates. Furthermore, on the same day, out of nowhere, the Dominican Republic became an ally of Haiti. The delegate of UK tried to bring peace talks between India and Pakistan. I repeat, India and Pakistan. The second day was quite fruitful, with lobbying, another round of GSLs, and the delegate of Canada trying to clutch a 1 versus 10 against UK, USA, India, Spain, Haiti, and many other countries. The usage of personal pronouns by the delegate of UK in every sentence did not fail to make the entire committee laugh. The ridiculous shift in the tone of the delegates when the chief guest, along with the Deputy Secretary General, walked into our committees was hilarious. The crisis on the third day allowed the delegates to collaborate, communicate, and create ideas that would prevent North Korea, Russia, and China from taking over the world. The highlight of the crisis was when the delegates of India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh shook hands and delivered presidential statements forming the Ind-Pak Bangla alliance. There were a total of 2 resolutions presented and one of them passed. Finally, I would like to end my speech by congratulating the delegates in making this committee a profound success and instilling this experience into the tray of memories that will be cherished even after I leave this school. Thank you. Signing off, the chair of DISEC, Sai Singh.
Thank you, Sai. Up next is the charismatic chair of the Economic and Financial Committee, Yuvraj Agarwal.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed delegates and honored guests, my name is Yuvraj and I have the honor of serving as the head of ECOFIN. And today I will be sharing with you certain insights of the past few days. As we gather here today for a closing ceremony for our model United Nations, I want to take a moment to reflect on the insightful discussions and the collaborative spirit that has characterized our sessions. Throughout our time together, we have tackled 2 pressing issues: the risk of de-dollarization and the implications of voluntarization on local economies. Each topic has revealed the complexities of our global economic landscape and the critical need for innovative solutions. In our discussions on de-dollarization, we highlighted the vulnerabilities associated with our reliance on the US dollar. The potential for exchange rate volatility and the geopolitical tensions underscores the importance of exploring alternative currencies like the yuan and the euro. As we move forward, it is vital for central banks to implement policies that stabilize their currencies and foster international cooperation. Through structural reforms, we can bolster our economies and ensure resilience against future challenges. One of the defining aspects of our committee was the intense and heated debates that unfolded between the delegates from the USA, Russia, Germany, and Canada. These discussions were not only passionate, but also crucial in shaping our understanding of the differing perspectives on these global issues. The exchange of ideas and the spirited dialogue that arose from our diverse viewpoints enriched our deliberations and ultimately led to more comprehensive solutions. I commend all the delegates for their commitment to engaging in these challenging conversations, as it is through such rigorous debate that we pave the way for such a meaningful progress. As we conclude our sessions, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to each of you for making GSMUN 24 ECOFIN Committee truly special. Your dedication, enthusiasm, and collaborative spirit has been inspiring. I'm grateful for your contribution. I'm grateful for all the contributions you all have made. I would like to congratulate all the delegates from my committee, as our committee was successful in the crisis and passed a resolution paper. GSMUN 24 is something I'm not going to forget. From the agenda making sessions in Mowbray and Dilkush to the final 3 days in ISC 1A. And then I'm going to leave you with a quote by George Bernard Shaw. I quote, "If all the economists were laid end to end, they'd never reach a conclusion." I unquote. Thank you.
Thank you, Yuvraj. Now, let's immerse ourselves in the experience of being in an Indian committee from the chair of Lok Sabha, Arush Reddy.
As the chair of Lok Sabha, In this Good Shepherd Model United Nations, it is my honor to present the closing brief speech summarizing our decisions and outcomes. Throughout our sessions, we have engaged in robust debates and constructive dialogues on pressing issues facing our nation. We formulated comprehensive resolutions aimed at addressing key topics such as replacing the IPC. Each resolution reflects the collective wisdom and diverse perspectives of our members. We fostered an environment of collaboration, encouraging delegates to work together despite their differing viewpoints. This spirit of cooperation is essential for effective governance and reflects the true essence of parliamentary democracy. We fostered an environment of collaboration, encouraging delegates to work together despite the discussions encourage critical thinking and problem solving, equip delegates with the skills necessary to navigate complex political landscapes. Let me now offer a brief update about the pivotal topics that we addressed. We explored strategies for improving the IPC, emphasizing the need of inclusive growth that benefits all sectors of our society. The urgency for amending the IPC was a recurring theme, with delegates proposing innovative solutions to combat the unbalanced constitution of India to a better and more advanced version. We examined policies aimed at enhancing social equity, ensuring that marginalized communities receive the support they need to thrive. I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to all delegates for their dedication and enthusiasm. Your commitment to representing your MPs with integrity and passion has made this committee a success. I also want to express my gratitude to the organizing committee for their support in facilitating our discussions and ensuring a smooth process throughout this MUN conference. As we conclude our sessions, let us carry forward the insights that are gained here to our future endeavors. The work we have done is just the beginning. It is imperative that we continue advocating for positive change in our respective communities. Thank you all for participating, and I look forward to seeing how each of you will contribute to shaping a better future. दुश्मनों की गोलियों का हम सामना करेंगे, आज़ादी रहे हैं, आज़ादी रहेंगे, सत्यमेव जयते. As the head of Lok Sabha, I, Arush Reddy, is calling it a day. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you, Arush. Now, we have the chair of the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime, Neev Darshan Karya.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed delegates, and future leaders of the world, as we gather here for the closing ceremony of the Good Shepherd International School, Model United Nations, I must say, what incredible 3 days these have been. Serving as the head of United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime has been a bit like trying to juggle while riding a unicycle. Challenging, a little wobbly at times, but ultimately a lot of fun. A very humorous moment was the Dominican Republic's rage on opioids, in which he stated a 3-year-old would use drugs. Over these past few days, we have tackled the serious issue of the global opioid crisis. We discussed everything from morphine to fentanyl, and I have to say, your passion and dedication were inspiring. All of you approached these decisions with such enthusiasm that I half expected someone to suggest we solve the crisis with a bake sale. Just imagine, buy a cake, save a life. But in all seriousness, you have shown that addressing complex issues doesn't have to be all doom and gloom. You have framed this challenge not just as a problem, but as an opportunity for change. And that's what future leaders do. They see potential where others see obstacles. As we look ahead to the future, remember that framing of agendas and ideas is crucial. It's about how you present ideas and inspire others. You can either say, we are facing an impossible crisis, or you can say, this is our chance to innovate and make a real difference. Another contentious conflict was a challenge between the USA against all of the other delegates in the committee. I have had so much fun working with all of you. Your energy has been contagious. These 3 days have been some of the most memorable in my school life. In conclusion, thank you all for your hard work and creativity. You have proven that young minds can tackle even the heaviest issues while still having fun. As you move forward in your journeys, remember that how you frame your experiences will shape your leadership style. So keep painting those mental pictures of hope and possibility. Now, let's give ourselves a round of applause for surviving 3 days of intense debate without resorting to interpretive dance. At last, I'm glad that our committee was able to successfully solve the crisis and were able to pass a resolution paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Neve. To end the speeches by the chairs of the committees, we have the chair of United Nations Women, Prisha Vipul Agarwal.
A group of feminists trying to establish a difference between pseudo-feminism and real feminism. This is UNW. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests and delegates. I am Prisha Agrawal, the chair of UNW. As our debates revolved around our two agendas, we came across some of the most interesting arguments I have ever heard in a committee. To be able to see delegates ranging all the way from 8th grade to 11th grade discussing pressing matters which so deeply impact women worldwide truly restored my faith in what our future as women and those closely related to womanhood looks like. As debate shifted from being about each country's stance on abortion to the different financial issues because of which UNSCR 1325 is not implemented worldwide, it is safe to say that each delegate developed a deep and well-rounded understanding of how different changes globally impact each aspect of a woman's life, socially, culturally, and economically. Delegates, I was impressed by how all of you embrace the spirit of diplomacy. The way you listen to one another, challenge assumptions, and sought common ground is a testament to your commitment of collaboration. It is this very spirit that embodies the essence of United Nations, working together to find solutions for our shared challenges. Delegates, I am so proud of the way all of you approached the Day 3 combined crisis. As the delegates of US, Russia, and China came together to solve the problem at hand, it was clear that our future is in very, very good hands. Humor, by the way, is the one thing that never failed in our committee. Delegate of Russia claiming that UNW stood for United States Women, or the delegate of UAE feeling insecure because of the delegate of India's debating skills, will never not make the chair have to yell out maintain decorum. As the delegates of India and USA raised the motion for a 1v1 against each other every 5 minutes, and the delegate of France took down every single speaker during the moderated caucus speeches, it is safe to say that our debate was never stagnant. And now, finally, as the chair of UNW, I would like to remind all present here today that feminism has always been a part of our history. And through committees like UNW, we enforce what should have always been understood: equal rights, opportunities, and experiences for women. Not more, not less, but simply equal. This is what our cult, or as we proudly call it, the feminist movement, has always stood for. I want to remind each that feminism empowers all individuals, promoting equality and justice. Today, reflect upon its importance in creating a fair and inclusive society for everyone. I encourage all present here today to carry the resolutions from this month with you as you return to your communities. Let them serve as a reminder of what we can achieve when we come together and unite in purpose and action. Your voices matter, and I urge you to continue advocating for these issues long after this conference today has ended. Signing off, Prisha Agrawal, the chair of UNW.
Thank you, Prisha. Now, Celine Elsa Sabu, the head of press, will allow us to understand the nuances of working in the press team.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Celine, and I represent the press team. As we come together to close this year's Good Shepherd Model United Nations Conference, I want to take a moment to reflect on the role the press played in our journey over the past few days. Every time there is an MUN session, the voices of our press team remind me of the passion, dedication, and hard work put in place by each one of you. We really work so hard to make sure that the stories emerging from these discussions are a mirror to the happenings. From day one, our press team has worked tirelessly to capture the lively talks, discussions, and novel ideas from this conference. We connect delegates with the wider community, sharing insights and perspectives, fostering understanding. Delegates, you have proven that you can make a difference in world issues. I would like to express my gratitude to all delegates and heads who took part in the Good Shepherd Model United Nations with such passion in their committees. Your decisions and discussions will help shape future talks. Since anyone can find information easily these days, it is our responsibility that our reports are accurate, revised, and informative. Not only within these walls, but also in our communities. We must keep promoting an environment of respectful communication and understanding. I am excited that our long-awaited GSMUN newsletters, the monthly roundup, will soon be a reality. These newsletters will encapsulate committee session highlights, key decisions, and delegate perspectives. You will find stories about your accomplishments, new ideas, and energy felt throughout the event. We believe that sharing these stories will inspire future generation of delegates and press members to continue the work of fostering understanding and collaboration. Finally, I would like to thank organizers, advisors, and everyone who joined us for their great support during this event. You all helped make this MUN special. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you at our next MUN conference.
Thank you, Celine.
Now, sit tight and buckle up for an experience of a lifetime. Let's dive into the tales of old where time conquers all and pharaohs rule. Give it up for the E-Square dance.
That was a mind-blowing performance by the E Square dance team. Spectacular work. Now, we have Karan Gautambai Patel, Chair of UNSC, to deliver the welcome address.
Good afternoon to one and all present here. It's a pleasure to welcome you all today, especially our esteemed President, Mr. Jacob Thomas, Senior Vice President of Student and Staff Welfare, Ms. Sarah Jacob, members of our Academic Council, respected teachers, delegates from guest schools, and the GSIS community. Today, we come together to celebrate our commitment to education and honor the remarkable achievements of alumni in the field of international organizations and relations. I am particularly excited to introduce our distinguished speaker among us, Shabri Nair. With over 17 years of experience in international relations and currently serving with the United Nations International Organization for Migration in Ankara, Turkey, Mr. Shabri leads vital initiatives in economic recovery and labor migration. His extensive background with various UN agencies and his impressive academic credentials, including degrees from Harvard University and Griffith University, exemplify the impact that education can have on a global scale. As an alumnus who graduated from GSIS in 1998, first 12th grade batch of GSIS, Shabri's journey is a testament to the potential within each of our students. Let us be inspired by his experiences and contributions that may encourage us to all strive for excellence and embrace the challenges across courage and creativity. Thank you for joining us today in this celebration of learning and growth. Thank you.
Thank you, Karan. We would like to welcome Mr. Shabri to GSMUN 2024.
I'm not going to stand behind that podium because I'm not a good speaker when I stand behind a podium. We have got to start it the UN way, shouldn't we? Where is Her Excellency, the Secretary General? Kaina's missing. Kaina, to the Secretary General, to the chairs of the different committees, distinguished delegates, to Mr. Jacob Thomas and Mrs. Sarah Jacob, who were the ones who brought me here, to the amazing teaching team, Dominic, Suresh, everybody. I just don't want to name anybody, and I'll just put it this way. In the UN, when we don't want to state everybody's name, we just say, protocols observed. So, with all protocols observed, thank you very much for having me here. My name is Shabri Nair, and it's an absolute pleasure to be back in the school that was responsible for making me what I am today. And it's such an honor being here amongst you. You know, I was listening to Kaina, what a great speech you made right there at the introduction. I then heard about Ridan and Rajveer. They were your DepSecs, yeah? Shreyansh, Pratham, Karan, Sanchita, Agam, Reenav, Saket, Sai, Yuvraj, Arush, Neve, Prisha, Celine. Wow, what a team effort. Give yourself a round of applause. You know, they say, and maybe this is Secretary General for your information and for the others, the future, the next GSMUN will have a whole new committee, will have a whole new Secretary General. You know, we have and you must have all heard about this, and we talk about this particularly in women's rights activism. Women's rights, they say that if you don't have a seat at the table, this is for women, if you don't have a seat at the table, then bring a chair, right? So particularly for the women. And perhaps that's the one thing. I'm glad that the Secretary General for this year is a woman. I think that is important. Because the United Nations, the The UN was established in 1945, and thus far, we have not been successful to have a female Secretary General in the United Nations. And I think this is a huge task for us. They say that in the way we are growing as a world, the way we are developing as a world, it will still take another 100 to 150 years before we can bridge the gender gap. So that's a problem, right? But that said, I want us to all think about how we can make gender more equal. And we can start that here. I think between Prisha, Celine, Sanchita, and Kaina, that was 4 women in how many committees? Aha. So perhaps we can start with bridging the gender gap right here and have as many women as there are men. Ladies, bring the chair to the negotiation table because you have all the right to be on that table as much as anybody else, as much as any other man. That, for me, was about your introduction. You know, when I was listening to all of you, I was telling Sarah, why do I even need to talk? You've covered everything. Given the different committees that you all came from, all of you have covered something or the other that the world today is grappling with in some way or the other, and you've done it beautifully. So, I am not going to be giving you long technical conversations about what the UN is and the kind of work we do at the United Nations. I'm going to take you in my own little way around the world with stories. Stories that I have captured from my time in the UN, from my time being posted to different countries around the world. And that's really what I want to bring to all of you today. You know, this particular logo always gives me the shivers. And you know why it gives me the shivers? It gives me the shivers because all the countries in the world are united here. I liked, who was the first chair that spoke? Was it Pratham? What's your name? Dhruva, right. And Dhruva spoke, you said, the nations that are united? Is that what you said? Yeah. I like that. And this is really that, isn't it? It's basically all the continents coming together. That's really what this logo is about. And the olive branches are supposed to represent peace. And so for me, this is really where I get this entire passion for what it is that I want to do and how I want to do it. Has anybody seen this map before or the schematic before? Come on, people. You're all UN, GSMUN. You haven't seen this map? This is the United Nations system. This is the only technical thing I will talk about with you today. The UN system. You know how many bodies there are listed over there? Over 100 bodies. How many of you thought, yesterday, Sai, I think I was in DISEC, right? Yeah. Yesterday, I heard that people wanted to go towards the Security Council Committee or SecPol. I heard that there were lots of people who are interested in Security Council related work or General Assembly related work. Not sure, maybe Radhan can correct me on this. But the reason I mention this is that's how complex the United Nations system is. You know where I work? You see on the top right corner, it says related organizations. On the top, right? The fourth from the top. So the top, it says CTBTO, that is the Comprehensive Commission for Test Ban Treaty Organization, that's the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Conversations. The International Atomic Energy Agency, the International Criminal Court. Have you all heard of the International Criminal Court? If you've been following the news, the ICC is in the news in every headline as of 2 days. For the last 48 hours, the ICC is on the news. Why? Because they have issued an arrest warrant against 3 very, very prominent global leaders. Two of them, that includes Benjamin Netanyahu, the current head of Israel, the head of state, and his former defense minister, Yoav Gallant. The both of them have been issued an arrest warrant by the International Criminal Court. And the third is is one of the Hamas leaders. The fourth organization that is listed there is the International Organization for Migration. So that's where I work. I work for the IOM, the United Nations Migration Agency. Now, when I show you this, I want you to realize that the UN is not about just the General Assembly or the Security Council. It's not. Unfortunately, the UN doesn't do a very good job of communicating the amazing work that the UN does. So all that you read about or all that you see are these 15 member states, that's 5 permanent plus 10 rotating members, sitting around this big, beautiful, round, circular Security Council room table and talking about who is going to veto what, right? And the powers that be. You've got Russia, you've got China, you've got France, the UK, and the United States all exercising their veto power in the Security Council, and that's what makes it such an attention-grabbing tool and a platform that everybody wants to know about, but nobody knows about the work that is done by the Department of Economic and Social Affairs, about the United Nations Office for Partnerships, about the United Nations Forum on Forests, about UN Habitat, about the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian refugees, about the standing committees and ad hoc bodies, and I can go on and on and on. So that's over 100 different UN agencies working in one of the most complex settings around the world. This is why I am humbled by how complex the UN is. There are some people who come up to me. You know, my mother does this great job. She says, today that boy didn't come and pick up that kajra. What is the UN doing about this? That's the kind of things my mother asks me. So all these, so many Palestinians getting killed. What are you doing about it? And I have to tell my mother, sometimes I try rationalizing with my mother, but is it possible to rationalize with mothers? No. But that's really how complex the world is. The reason why the UN is complex is because the world is complex. So every time people say, you're a bureaucratic organization, things don't happen, things don't get done, I say, yes, that is because we are a mirror to the world. We are a reflection of what the world is, literally. The more complex the world, the more complex the UN, and the more difficult it is for us to do our job. But that leads me to my parents. That's my mom and dad. My father's name is Gopinath. My mother's name is Sharada. She also goes by Lily. This was them when I was posted to the UN General Assembly in New York in 2018. This is a photo from then. As you can see, my father has got this little sticker on his chest, on the left side of his chest. It's his visitor's pass, you know, when you come in. So when you know somebody at the UN, you can take them around the UN. And so I took mom and dad on a tour of the UN. You know what I like about this photograph? You see the front there? Now you see all these chairs, yeah? Now you see the chair at the front and see the chair at the back. Who do you think, which member state do you think sits at the front? P5, you're saying, sits at the front of the General Assembly. Okay, anybody else? Sorry? The council members. Okay, the Security Council members. Okay, anybody else? At the back. You may not know, I mean, you may not want to, be in the GSMUN, but I'm sure you have your opinions on these things. Which country do you think sits in the front, and which country do you think sits at the back? Come on. Come on, Good Shepherd. I also know that Bishop Cottons is here, and Army School is here, before they answer. Yes? Sorry? Okay. Anybody else? Prisha? No? You know what? The country that sits right up in the front is Afghanistan. And the country that sits right at the back is Zimbabwe. Why? Alphabetical order. Isn't that beautiful? Huh? I can see all these people at the back laugh. Did we forget alphabetical order? Yeah, we forgot alphabetical order. That's sad, isn't it? Afghanistan is one of the first countries in that front row. The United States is at the back because it's you, and Zimbabwe, Zambia are right at the back. So it's alphabetical order. Right? Yes? You have a question in your mind? No? But that's what I love about the United Nations. It doesn't matter whether you're the United States of America, whether you're Vanuatu, or whether you are Afghanistan, whether you are a small country, a big country, whether you are a least developing country, whether you are a developing country, whether you are a superpower, it doesn't matter. You will sit alphabetically, and each country will have one vote. Isn't that beautiful? Whether you are the United States of America, which has one vote, or whether you are Jamaica, you have one vote. And I love that. I love the perspective of every country having an equal voice in the UN. Is that the world we live in now, you think? Do you think that's the kind of a world we live in? Do you think every person, or do you think in the school, do you think amongst your student community, every person has an equal voice? Do you think we can do better? We can always do better. Everybody should have an equal voice. But here at the General Assembly, I met Fatima from a small country called Comoros. Has anybody heard of Comoros? Comoros. Comoros is a small island state off the eastern coast of the continent of Africa. And Fatima was the first secretary of Comoros. She was leading the negotiations here for an intergovernmental negotiation at the General Assembly. She was representing the African group. So there, as she's making the presentation, so what happens is the Secretary General, so let's say Kaina, is calling for order, and she says, I will first recognize the different groups amongst the countries. So the African group is one. You know how many countries are in the African group? 54 countries. 54 countries come together in the African group. That's the number of countries in the continent of Africa. They speak English, they speak French, they speak Arabic, they speak Swahili, they speak Portuguese. Such a diverse continent. They speak their own African languages. I mean, it's tremendous. So you have one particular person from a small island country of Comoros speaking for 54 countries, and she has been given 5 minutes to speak. The moment she starts speaking, there is a timer in the back. You see where the General Assembly logo is? At the back there is a timer. The moment she starts speaking, the timer starts ticking down. 5 minutes, 4:59, 4:58, 4:57, and it ticks down. So you can imagine you're speaking and the timer is ticking down. When it gets to 0, it will start blinking red. 0, 0, 0. Stop. The moment it starts blinking red, stop. Your time is up. So the Secretary General, or in this case the chair of the conference, takes the floor and says, to the distinguished delegate of the African group, I kindly request you to stop. I kindly request you to stop. Your time is up. I need to give it to the next delegate. And she said, Mr. Chair, can you give me 5 more minutes? I'm speaking on behalf of 54 countries of the African group. 5 more minutes, and I promise you I'll finish my statement on time. He said, sorry, I cannot give you a favor. I need to move on to the next speaker. She did not bat an eye. And Fatima, my very good friend from Comoros, said to the chair of the General Assembly, who's presiding over that negotiation, she tells him, Mr. Chair, do you want me to take another 5 minutes and finish my statement, or do you want each one of my 54 member states to make a statement for 5 minutes? What do you think he said? He said, please continue. Because it's better, no? It's better that one person, your Secretary General, in this case Kaina, makes a statement on behalf of all of you, rather than each one of you delegates making a statement. That, my dear friends, is the power of the group. That's what I love about the UN. Because you can make groups, you can come together in alliances, and you can strike down anything that you think is not in favor of you. Be assured that your group, that your class, that your house, your school, your state, your country, these are where your strengths lie. So always be aware of that. United we stand, divided we fall. That's what that story gives me about the UN General Assembly. It's all about how you can find your alliances. It's all about how you can understand who your partners are going to be. It's about appreciating the fact that these partners are going to help you take the step forward that you need to in global discussions and negotiations. This is a photo that I didn't take. It was a photo that was taken by a photographer from the International Organization for Migration. So Celine, this is our communications team that took this photograph. This was when I served in Bangladesh. This is a refugee camp. Now, for most people, a refugee camp, I don't know what it looks like. I don't know if you've been seeing any movies, if you see refugee camps in these movies. But this is what a Rohingya refugee camp looks like. It's basically 4 sticks, a tarpaulin sheet on top of it. The women have some privacy, depending on how it's built. Otherwise, you really don't have much. You know how many people live in Bangladesh as Rohingya refugees? 1.5 million. Can you imagine 15 lakh people, about, give or take, living like this? I mean, this is no different from some of the slums we see, right, in our own country. So I was visiting these camps, and I spent a lot of time in these camps. And while visiting these camps, there was a young man by the name Imran. Imran at the time, I think, was 19, I think, so just after school. Imran was born in the camp, okay? And he was with his friends, 3, 4 of them. So when the UN goes into a refugee camp, we go in with a big delegation of people, okay? So there's security, there's protection, there is law enforcement agencies, there are government officials, all kinds of people around you when we go in to assess the situation on the ground in the refugee camp. So we're walking around, Imran is walking behind us. Wherever I go, Imran is there. So in one of these places, in the refugee camp, is a soap making factory. It's not a factory, it's a small shed where they make soap. And in the process of making the soap, who makes the soap? The women, okay? Now, when I come to your house, if you invite me to your place, when I go to your powder room, do you all have a powder room? So when I walk into your powder room, there'll be a small hand wash or a small bar of soap that I can use to wash my hands, yeah. fantastic, isn't it? Then I can go into your bathroom, or you come into my bathroom, and then there's a hair conditioner, there is a shampoo, there's all kinds of different soaps and smells and flavors, and we love it, and we use all of this and make ourselves, clean, and we smell good. Wonderful. Refugees get 1 bar of soap per person per week. And this bar of soap is what they use to clean their body, to clean the vessels, to clean their clothes, everything with 1 bar of soap. So now I am in this small soap making center where the women are making soap. Okay? So Imran comes up behind me, he grabs a bar of soap, gives it to me, and he says, "Sir, here you go. Smell this. It smells nice." And I'm not paraphrasing here. These are the exact words he used. "Sir, smell this. It smells nice." And it was pretty clear, legible. I smelled it. Smelled nice. Kept it back. But what struck me was, 1, his confidence, but 2, a Rohingya refugee from Myanmar that speaks a dialect of Bangla, which is spoken in Bangladesh. What we say Bengali in India is Bangla in Bangladesh, right? And Bangla, Chittagonian dialect of Bangla is what the Rohingya refugees speak, okay? But this boy, born in the refugee camp with no formal education, no Good Shepherd International School for him, said those words to me in such clear, beautiful English. So I looked at him and I went, "Hey, Imran, tell me this." I put my hand over his shoulder, walked around, and he said, "Imran, tell me this. Where did you learn to speak such good English?" He said, "Sir, there are people like you who come to the camp all the time. I just listen and learn. I just listen and learn." No English teacher, no Shakespeare, none of that. None of these modern facilities. So what's your excuse? If Imran can do that, what are we complaining about? What the hell on earth are we complaining about? That's my dad. And that person wiping off a tear is Mr. Ramadan, Muhammad Ramadan. So I started the story with you in New York. I took you to Bangladesh. And from Bangladesh, now I take you to Qatar. So this was during my posting in Doha last year. My mom, dad, and I, now there is something here you should notice. You see this photograph of my dad? It's not only because the photo is broad, but it's my father. You will see between this and this has lost a lot of weight. This is because in 2019, my father was diagnosed with cancer. And it's important to the story that I'm going to say because my dad is now very frail and very thin. And because he's frail and thin, he gets cold very easily. So I don't know if you know about this. How many of you look forward to a hot shower, especially in a place like Ooty? I love it. Yes. Lijo, are we allowed to take showers every day now? Yes? Sorry? Twice a day. I don't know, in 98, I don't know what it was like for you, Lijo, but in 98, I think there were some days we were not allowed to take for the fear of getting pneumonia or catching pneumonia. So you're all looking for a hot shower, right? You're all happy for a hot shower, correct? Now, my father is literally skin and bones. He can't do showers with great pressure or very hot water or very cold water. Why? Because he's all skin and bones now, it hits his bones. So he feels like every drop of water that hits him from the shower is like a bullet. Okay? So while some of us look forward to a hot shower, there are some human beings in this world who don't want a hot shower, or who don't want a shower that has high pressure on it, right? But the reason I mention this is because Mom, Dad, and I went to watch Jawan. Did you all watch Jawan? Yes? Did everybody like the movie? Please be critical. Yes. Okay. So we went to watch the movie. I took them to watch Jawan in one of the cinemas in Doha, and Dad was cold. He was so cold. You know, some of these cinemas, the multiplexes, you have to literally go in with one of those puffer jackets just so that you don't get cold. So Dad was cold, and I had totally forgotten to, grab him a sweater or a jacket or something like that. We walked out, and you see where Mr. Ramadan is standing. Behind that is the corridor that leads you to the different cinemas. So he's the one who checks your tickets. Just as you walk up, he will check your ticket and then he will let you go. So we came out, Daddy was shivering. And because he was shivering, I hugged him very tight and I was holding him. Mummy said she wanted to go to the restroom. So Mom went to the restroom. I was holding Dad tight. And we were both standing right in front of Mr. Ramadan. So at that point, Mr. Ramadan, his name is Muhammad Ramadan, Mr. Ramadan, so I was holding him, and I could feel something touching me, right? So I look up, I was holding Dad, right? So I'm not focusing on anything else. Holding Dad, and I could feel this tap on my wrist, on the back of my hand. And I looked up. I thought he was saying, please move out of the way. Because we're standing right in front, and that's where people come to, show their tickets. So I started moving Dad away. I said, oh, we're standing right. I said, so sorry. And he goes, no. Yeah. So he had something in his hand, and he pushed it into my hand. He had something that he had kind of tied. He had clenched his fist, and he had something, and he pushed it into my hand. And I opened my hand. It was a 10 Qatari Riyal note. 10 riyals is about 200 rupees. 10 Qatari Riyals is 200 rupees. And he said, please buy your father a cup of tea for me. Please buy your father a cup of tea for me. He said, I really miss my dad. I really miss my mom. I miss my family. And it's wonderful to see you both together. It's tough. That's a migrant story. He's a Ugandan. He's been in Qatar for about 4 years now. He's a security guard. You know what his basic salary would be per month? His basic salary per month would be about 15 to 20,000 rupees. I'll guarantee you this. If you were getting, or if I was getting 15 to 20,000 rupees a month, the chances are I'm not even going to give a single penny to charity. That's all he gets. And he was willing to give us 200 rupees from his salary just because he missed his father. If you look at it in one way, the people with the least amount of money, the people with the least amount of resources are the people that are the most generous. And that's a migrant. Some of these people have so little, and yet they're so happy to share what they have. And that for me really stood out because, and then we invited Mr. Ramadan to the UN the next day because I work on migration issues. I brought him to the IOM. We felicitated him. Nothing serious. We just sat him around. We had a chat with him. He felt nice. He was like, oh, wow, I've gone to the UN now. We didn't do anything. Nothing special, but it was nice. It was a good feeling. Anybody from Oman here? Oman? Oman? Really? What are your names? Aditya? Aman? Yeah. Oman? Muscat? Is that where you guys live? Okay. Anybody else from Oman? No? You as well? What's your name? Aditi? Okay, excellent. Aditi, are you Good Shepherd? No. Which school? Army Public. Excellent. Hey, by the way, can you give a big round of applause to the Army Public and Bishop Cotton students? Because at the end of the day, they're also your guests. They are the migrants here, right? So thanks for coming, Aditi, and thanks. Have you seen this in the Muscat airport? Yeah? Okay. So I'll read it out. It says, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, if you were to come to the people of Oman, they would have never insulted nor abused you. Isn't that beautiful? So I was in Oman in February. I had some meetings there, which is when I came across this. Absolutely loved it. Loved it. I really liked it. I think for those of you, there must be quite a few Gulf students here. Raise your hands, Gulf students, or people who have grown up in the Gulf. Yeah. So Qatar, Bahrain, UAE, Kuwait, Oman, Saudi. Yeah. And this is a mural at the airport in Muscat, the international airport. So as you land in Muscat, I saw this, I really liked it, took a photograph, kept it with me. Now, the beauty about Oman is, now who's from Dubai? I know that there are some people from Dubai, yeah? Dubai. Yeah, I know that one of the dancers, Kevin, is from Dubai as well. Yeah, where's Kevin? Is Kevin around? On top, yeah, thanks, Kevin. So if you're from any of these countries, you will also know that most people in those countries look like us. Right, Kev? They look like us. They don't look like the Emiratis or the Qataris or the Bahrainis or the Omanis. They mostly look like us. That's because we are the majority. But in Oman, the Omanis are doing all kinds of jobs. If you go to Dubai, the person who's driving the taxi is most probably an Indian, right? You go to the doctor, he or she is most probably an Indian. You go to a construction company, the laborer is most probably an Indian, and the person who's owning that construction company is also an Indian, most probably a Malayali. And we just end up, man, it's no fault on us. We just have to move. There is a joke. You throw a stone in Dubai, you'll most probably hit a Malayali. So that's in Oman. And it's nice. It's nice because you're going to a country where people are all, the people of that country are doing all kinds of jobs. So you don't feel like you're any less than the others, right? The parking attendant is an Omani. The guy who rented me the car is an Omani. The guy who welcomed me on board Oman Air was an Omani steward, right? So it was nice. Everybody's Omani. And I fell in love with this. The moment I came here, I was like, this is beautiful. I love it. And then I went to Zanzibar. Who's from Tanzania? I heard that there may be a couple of students from Tanzania. One. Anybody else from Tanzania? No? Who? Yeah? Really? What's your name? Harsh. And what's your name? Who's from? Huh? Abu Bakr? Nice meeting you, Harsh and Abu Bakr. Have you been to Zanzibar, both of you? Yes? Have you heard of the Omani stories in Zanzibar? No, you should go. Go to the museums in Zanzibar. So Zanzibar is a small island. Do you know why Tanzania's name is Tanzania? You live in Zanzibar, and you haven't not heard of the Omani stories. You what? You've seen the palace. You haven't heard the stories, okay. Now the reason I mention this, my dear friends, is because Tanzania and Zanzibar in particular, was the capital of Oman at one point. And the Omanis were responsible for the slave trade in East Africa. And it says here, this, Harsh, Abu Bakr, please go to the museums in Zanzibar, absolutely beautiful. This is from one of the museums there, and I just took a photo, and here's the transcription. It says, slavery in East Africa and the Indian Ocean continued unabated. Zanzibar was at the center of operations. It was another 40 years before the abolition of slave trading in East Africa was decreed by the Omani Sultanate in 1873. Still, slavery as an institution persisted in Zanzibar till 1909. So this, do this. You would have never been insulted nor abused. 2, running the slave trade of East Africa. But I don't say, because I love Oman, I've been to Oman, I absolutely love the Omanis. In fact, the reason why I mention that is if you go to Zanzibar, there are still Omanis who own houses. Zanzibar is a holiday destination for a lot of Omanis. Okay? A lot of Omanis speak Swahili, especially the older generations, they speak Swahili. And if you get to know the Omani culture better, it has a lot of Swahili influence, East African influence. And it really touched me, it really hit me. Why do I put this up here? I just want you to know, when you go into a negotiation, and a lot of you over the last, I'm thinking of the Iranian defense minister who fought against the Iranian president. When you go into any negotiation, there is always two sides to the story. You may think you're right, but then there is an entirely different side that will give you a different perspective. So I had a guide in Zanzibar who took me around the old stone town, yeah? And when he was taking me around Stone Town, which is beautiful, it's the UNESCO heritage part of Zanzibar, when he was taking me around Stone Town, Harsh, I showed him this photograph. He burst out laughing. He said, yeah, ask them to come and see me. I will tell them a bit or two about the history of Zanzibar. Over the last few months, you would have heard a lot about genocide. A lot of people dying, no? Indiscriminately being killed. This is actually from a photograph. This is a photograph that I took in one of the museums, and I will show you where that museum is. But let's focus on the convention. This is the Genocide Convention. The genocide as defined by the UN Convention of 1948. It basically says, genocide means any of the following acts committed with intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group as such. And it talks about the different ways in which people are killed or harmed, right? And so many people around the world today, we know, are being killed and murdered, and for no fault of theirs. This is in Armenia. This is the Genocide Museum, or the Genocide Memorial in Armenia. This, can anybody tell me what this is? This is actually, yeah? That's Auschwitz. So this is in Krakow. Visited Auschwitz a few years back, and I was very touched by the fact that millions of Jews were literally gas chambered, gassed and killed to death, and killed in these chambers. And so this is the housing where they were made to live in before they were killed. And this is where I took that photo from. This is the Rwanda Genocide Museum. The Rwanda Genocide Museum is where 1 million Hutus killed, or Hutus killed 1 million Tutsis. Anybody from Rwanda? Anybody who, have you been to Rwanda? It's a neighboring state to Tanzania. Have you, Abu Bakr, have you been to Rwanda? No, it's a beautiful country, please go. Absolutely gorgeous country. But this is the Genocide Museum in Rwanda. But the reason I show you these photographs, Rwanda, Auschwitz, Armenia, is because it doesn't matter where in this world you go. Anybody who is from close to Amritsar, who is from Amritsar? Anybody from Punjab? If you haven't, go to the Jallianwala Bagh Memorial, right? If you can go to Amritsar, please go to the Partition Museum. The Partition Museum was set up by a Harvard alum from Amritsar. She's done a beautiful job in setting it up. But the reason I mention this is it doesn't matter where in the world you go to, there are stories like this which are really upsetting. Millions of people in their countries have been killed and decimated and absolutely ridiculed. But I want us to breathe easy. I don't want to now weigh you all down with a whole range of things that make life difficult and feel that the world is a very difficult place to live in. So I want to bring you to a song. Harsh, do you know the song? Abu Bakr, do you know the song? I'm looking at the Tanzanians again. Yeah? Does anybody else know the song? Where are you from? There they sang this song. Did you tell your friends about this song when you heard about it, when you came back? Yeah. You did? Yeah? Okay. You want to take a stab? You want to just read it out for us? No? So let's read. It's Swahili on the left, and it's the English translation on the right. On the left, it says, Jambo, Jambo Bwana. Thank you. Habari gani mzuri sana. Wageni mwakaribishwa. Kilimanjaro hakuna matata. You all know hakuna matata, right? Tembea pole pole hakuna matata. Utafika salama hakuna matata. Kunyava maji mengi hakuna matata. You know what it basically means? As much as you want to laugh about it, look at the lyrics in English. Hello, hello sir. How are you? Very well. Guess, you're welcome. Kilimanjaro, no trouble. Because Kilimanjaro, the highest peak in Africa, is a lot of people go trekking on it. No trouble. Walk slowly, slowly, no trouble. You'll get there safe. No trouble. Drink plenty of water. No trouble. And I love that. This is almost like, for me, an anthem for life. It's okay. Take it easy, slow. We'll get there. You know, in the UN, you will hear UN officials always saying this one old African proverb. I think it was also in the Bible, perhaps. They say, come together, you go further. Run alone, you go fast. Right? It's okay. Let's go further. Let's go slow. It's okay if we go slow, but let's go further. And there,
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, bro. Give him a round of applause. So I was at the base of the Kilimanjaro, and I was going on a trek, and I see this man standing there. He was basically busking, you know, for whatever little money he can get, and he sang this, and I took a video of it, and I absolutely loved it. I'm so stunned by everything here. You know, it's so simple, it's so easy, and yet it's so full of life. It's asking us to take it easy, and it's saying no problems, everything's going to work out, Hakuna Matata, fine, you know, we're going to be okay. Now, I was sitting there and I was asking Sarah, who are the good singers in school? And I heard the names Heer, Himani, Shreya, Robin, Zach. Anybody want to come here and sing with me this song? I heard Neve, whoever wants to. I've read out a few names. If anybody else wants to come, I'd like one girl, one boy to come up here and sing the song with me. Come on, people. Either that or I just put you on the spot. Sarah, you said Shreya is one of the best singers in school. Who's Shreya? Shreya, come on up. Come on, Shreya, let's do this. Yeah, give her a round of applause. Absolutely. Come on, Shreya. Robin, Zach, one of the boys want to join as well? Who's Robin? Who's Zach? No? Ask who? Neve? Neve? Where's Neve? Neve Karia, where's Neve Karia? Neve, join us, come on. Okay, clearly the others don't want to. Come on up, come on up. So let's use this together, shall we? Come up. I just want you to go with me on the words. Jumbo.
Jumbo.
Excellent. All right. Jumbo.
Jumbo.
Jumbo Bwana.
Jumbo Bwana.
Habari gani.
Habari gani.
Mzuri sana.
Mzuri sana.
Wageni.
Wageni.
Mwakaribishwa.
Mwakaribishwa.
Kilimanjaro.
Kilimanjaro.
Hakuna matata.
Hakuna matata.
Tembea pole pole.
Tembea pole pole.
Hakuna matata.
Hakuna matata.
Utafika salama.
Utafika salama.
Hakuna matata.
Hakuna matata.
Kunywa maji mengi.
Kunywa maji mengi.
Hakuna matata.
Hakuna matata.
Give them a round of applause. Thank you. Thanks so much. I know I put you on the spot, but thank you really for indulging me in this. Let this be the anthem for life. Let's take it from East Africa, where there was slave trade, where they've gone through so much of issues in life, and then they bring back to you so much of goodness and saying, it's okay, everything's okay. Hakuna Matata means no worries. All's going to be okay, no trouble. And that leads me to this lady, and I will conclude. This is Navi Pillai. Navi Pillai, or Navanitam Pillai, was the former UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. It was with her that I had the privilege of serving the High Commissioner for Human Rights when she was. When you hear Pillai, you're most probably thinking Indian, correct? You're most probably thinking either Malayali or Tamil, right? She's South African, okay? She's a South African of Indian origin. She was an indentured laborer. Not she, her grandparents were brought to South Africa by the British as indentured laborers, which is slave labor, right? To work in the sugarcane plantations of South Africa. This is where Navi Pillai came in, and she's the third generation South African. She, in 1994, was appointed as the Chief Justice of the South African Supreme Court by Nelson Mandela, the first woman of color to be appointed as Chief Justice of the South African Supreme Court after apartheid. This is big. This is massive. Go ahead, Prisha. Go ahead. Go ahead. UN women. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. How special is that? And this woman, I worked with her, and I was just so stunned by, she's all of 5 feet, I think, and just so strong and just so beautiful in the way she looks at the world and the way she talks to people and the way and that smile on her face is, it's eternal. She works on some of the most difficult issues in the world, and yet, human rights, This is the High Commissioner for Human Rights. So I told my parents, come to Geneva. This is when I was in Geneva. I said, come, let me introduce you to Navi Pillai. But I said, it's very difficult. My mother's like, no, I want to meet Navi Pillai. I said, look, it's very difficult. This is a person who sits with Obama. This is a person who sits with, Hillary Clinton. This is a person who sits with Prime Minister Modi. I mean, this is a person who sits at that level and talks to people, and my mother saying, I want to meet Navi Pillai. And I'm like, no, that's not possible. Do your mothers sound like that? Some of your mothers? Yeah, you get it. So I said, yes, great, but doesn't work like that. So I took them. I said, you know what, we'll have lunch at the High Commissioner for Human Rights cafeteria. We'll have lunch together there. We had lunch. And my mother's like, but which floor does she sit? I said, she sits on the 3rd floor. Good, then let's just go up to the 3rd floor and meet her, and it'll be okay. And I said, Ma, but it doesn't work like that. She said, no, but let's just go up to the 3rd floor. I said, okay, you know what? Outside her office, outside the High Commissioner's office, there is a whole range of mementos that she has received from presidents, prime ministers, kings, queens, heads of states. Things that they give when heads of state receive each other, right? And I said, okay, maybe I'll show you all of that. That's outside in a showcase, you know. So we went up, and I'm showing all of this to my parents. Everything's very nice. And then my mother goes, but where does she sit? I'm like, oh, just across this, you know, the room here behind this showcase. And she goes, we are right here. I can just say hello. How difficult is it? I'm like, Ma, if you want to meet Mr. Jacob Thomas at GSIS, you have to take an appointment, right? That's how it works. So this is exactly how it is. So you need to take an appointment to meet the High Commissioner for Human Rights. She has a busy agenda. There's a whole range of things to do. It's not going to be easy. My mother said, no, look. I said, okay, you know what? The Chief of Staff, okay? So I said, let me introduce you to the Chief of Staff for the High Commissioner for Human Rights, an Iranian-American lady. And I gingerly knocked on the Chief of Staff's office and I said, excuse me, ma'am, if you have 2 minutes, I'd like to quickly introduce my parents. They're just visiting Geneva. And I was 28 years old at the time, right? So I had just started in the UN. I was a young professional. And she said, yeah, bring your parents in. So I took my parents. She was speaking to my parents and she looked at my parents and she goes, wait, have you met the High Commissioner? And my mother goes, no. And she goes, what, you've not met the High Commissioner? Shabri, what are you doing? Now I look like the fool, right? And she goes, hold on, because the Chief of Staff has an adjoining office to the High Commissioner's office. So she doesn't need to go through the main door. She can just walk into the High Commissioner. So she walks in, comes out, and she says, give us a minute, the High Commissioner will be out. She looks, the High Commissioner, Navi Pillai, she puts her head out and she goes, ah, Mr. and Mrs. Nair, Shabri's parents, what a pleasure. It was like parent-teacher meeting, huh? So she walks out, and she's having this great conversation with my parents. Not my parents, my mother, okay? Hi, Commissioner, how are you? So nice to meet you. Yeah. Then she looks, and I'm just standing in the corner and hoping and praying. I was telling this to Prashi and in the podcast talk. You know, my mother has the habit when I introduce her to my colleagues, she will ask, is he a good boy? You know, things like that. So I have her at the back there. I'm standing at the back there, and I'm listening to my mother talking to the High Commissioner, and I'm hoping and praying that she doesn't say anything silly. And my mother tells the High Commissioner, we are looking for a nice girl for Shabri. Right? We're looking for a nice girl for Shabri. All this while, when she said that, till that point, the High Commissioner had this smile on her face. Okay? The moment she told the High Commissioner for Human Rights, the ultimate authority on human rights, that we are looking for a nice girl for Shabri, the High Commissioner became very silent and quiet and stoic. And she looks at my mother and she says, Mrs. Nair, it is your son's human right to marry who he wants to marry. And I went, yes! Yes! My mother has been schooled by the High Commissioner for Human Rights. This is brilliant. I'm going to say the story once, and this is where I say that story. But this is really what it's about. We walked out of that meeting. I put my arm around my father, and I said, Dad, I was 27, right? I just started in the UN. I said, Dad, you've been very quiet. Is everything okay? Because he was not talking much to the High Commissioner. He was very quiet. So I put my arm on Dad's shoulder and said, everything okay? And he looked at me and he said, and I had just started, by the way, I just started in the UN. And he said, I don't know what you think you are, but I think you're successful. Because thanks to you, today I had the opportunity to meet and shake hands with the highest authority on human rights in the world. It's still something that runs in my head, because this has got nothing to do with me. I just was in a job where I could do that, I could introduce them. That's it, that's the way I see it. But for my dad, a man who has only studied up to 10th standard, coming from a small village in Kerala, this was a big deal. And so he went on to say, don't forget where you have come from, where I have come from. My point is, friends, we have the opportunity of studying in one of the best schools, one of the best institutions in all of India. And your parents are able to give you that. But don't also forget that your parents or your grandparents have their own story. And it is those stories that have led you to where you are. You may not even worry, forget 200 rupees, maybe even 20,000 rupees may not be a problem for you when it comes to, let me go and buy this shirt, Balenciaga. It won't be a problem. But maybe your parents would have thought 10 times about spending that money for themselves and said, let me keep it for my son or daughter. And I think that's something that I always think about. It's about where my father came from and where my parents came from and where my ancestors came from in terms of where I am today and why I do what I do today. And therefore, you don't have to go any other place except this, which is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which basically means the world is one family. For me, that's really what the United Nations is about. If you want to compare the UN to anything else, you just have to look into India. And in India, this is what we say. In fact, somebody came up, I have a tattoo on my left arm. It says Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, and somebody asked me yesterday about this, and I tried to explain it. But this is really what it is. Keep it to that. Recognize that there is a big world out there, and that world is one family, starting here at GSIS. Thank you very much. That's been my time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Your words have inspired us all.
Sir, your anecdotes have been truly incredible, and I think they deserve another round of applause. I would now like to invite Karan on the stage to ask questions, to open the floor up to questions.
So I would just like to know what was your educational and career journey before you ended up working for the UN?
Thank you. Do you want to shall we take a round of questions and I can come back on all of them, or shall we go one by one? All right, let's do one by one. All right. Sanchita, isn't it? Yes. So I studied to be an engineer. I quit. You've heard the story. I quit. I studied to be an engineer for 5 years because that's what all of us do, right? Yesterday I was speaking to the 10th and 12th graders, and a lot of people who want to be engineers and a lot of people who don't want to admit to the fact that they'll most probably do engineering. So I studied to be an engineer, telecommunications. Engineering is a 4 years degree. I studied it for 5 years and then quit. Okay? So at the age of 23, I went back to doing a bachelor's degree. I went to do journalism and international relations. That's the first thing I wanted to do. After doing that, I did a master's in international relations in Switzerland. I did my undergrad in Australia, moved to Switzerland where I did my master's. Geneva was the right place for it because I knew I always wanted to join the UN. So Geneva is the hub of the United Nations, right? So therefore, immediately after that, I signed a short-term consultancy with one of the small organizations there, IOM, in fact, in Geneva, and then moved on from there. So it's really about, my career is just really doing what I wanted to do, because today I don't feel like I'm doing a job. Today I feel there are days I come back home and I tell myself, wow, I get paid for this. This is amazing. So really that's been my educational background. So choose the place that you want to go to and choose the degree that you want to study, which will lead you into the UN. Yeah. There's a question here. I'll come down to you.
Why did you choose the IOM instead of the other committees which were there in the UN?
So I didn't choose the IOM necessarily. In a way, it chose me. In the UN, we have different organizations. As I showed you that first schematic, there are so many different organizations. And so I worked first with the High Commissioner for Human Rights. I worked with the International Labour Organization. I then moved to IOM. I resigned from my job. My last posting before I resigned was in Delhi. I resigned because I got accepted to go and do another degree at Harvard. So, which is when I went to study, I resigned from my job at the ILO. When I graduated, IOM was the first to offer me a position, okay, and say, hey, come back. We need someone like you to come and work with us, right? So that's really why I chose IOM. But that's fantastic because I was able to go back to Qatar, where I grew up as an IOM UN official and work in the context of Qatar, and now in Turkey. So thanks for that question.
Thank you for the answer, sir. Here.
Yeah.
Hi, sir.
Hi. What's your name?
For you has
What's your name?
Kavya.
Kavya.
Kavya. What for you has been the most heart-touching experience working for the IOM?
Wow, heart-touching experience. I mean, Mr. Ramadan was a heart-touching experience. You know, the story that I gave you there. And there are many such. Imran in the refugee camp was a heart-touching experience. There are many such stories, Kavya. I think, let me give you an example. I was in the south of Nepal. Anybody from the north of India bordering with Nepal? Go ahead, yeah. Yeah. Where are you from? Which part of that, which is that area? You're from Manipur. Okay, you're from Manipur. So you have a small border with Nepal. Okay, anybody else? Yeah? Assam Guwahati border, okay. Or that border with Nepal. So the reason I mention this is there anybody here who's heard of the language called Maithili? Maithili, does anybody speak Maithili? That's Bihar, UP, parts of that speak Maithili. But the reason I mention this, so this is in terms of the question from you, heart-touching. I was sitting with a bunch of migrant workers from the south of Nepal in a place called Sarlahi. Okay, Sarlahi is what they call the Madesi area. And sitting with them, talking to them about the different wages. So there were 4 or 5 of them. One guy said, sir, I made 300 riyals. One guy said, so all Gulf returnees. Okay, I made 300 riyals. Another said, I made 200 riyals. Another said, I made 400 Omani riyals or whatever. And then one guy said, sir, I worked as a driver. I made 1,500 Qatari riyals. The other guys looked at him. The first guy looked at him and goes, Bhai, तूने तो कतार को लूट लिया. As in, my friend, you have stolen Qatar. You have looted Qatar. Imagine, 1,500 riyals, my dear friends, is about 30,000 rupees. 1,000 riyals is 20,000 rupees. So, yeah, 40, let's say, between that. And he said, "Tune to Qatar ko loot liya." And you know what was touching me at that point was, that's most probably my grocery expense for my family in my house. Just groceries. That was his monthly wage. So imagine what the guy who's earning 300 or 400 Qatari riyals is thinking. And that really hit me, Kavya. It really hit me to recognize also the fact that people with small can live happily. You don't need a lot of money to live happily. Right? But that's from my story, and I'm sure there are many such stories around the world of how people have recognized. So that really hit me. Thanks, Kavya.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the answer. I think we'll take 2 more questions.
Yeah,
sure. We'll be
Sir,
moving on to award ceremony.
Sir, according to you, what is the biggest accomplishment of your life, and what do you think you learned in the process?
What's your name, sir?
Prajit.
Prajat?
Prajit.
Prajit? You ask me that question like I'm 75 and retiring. I don't know, Prajat. I don't think there is anything in particular that I would consider to be the biggest achievement
I'm just glad that I have been at the right places at the right time. I've just been able to do some very interesting things. I have been able to meet people from around the world. I've been fortunate to get all of these experiences and opportunities. But I do not believe that there is any one thing that I have done which has made me think, that's it, now I've achieved everything. No. It's just very difficult to say that. I don't think we can, maybe if I build a school like this, maybe if I run something like this, and I can only imagine the shoes that Lijo has to fill, his father's shoes, you know. I have not been able to, I'm not an educationist, I've not given education to tens and tens of thousands of people, you know, over many decades. I don't have any of that. So I think my success is, Prijit, is to tell myself that I am still a very small fish in the big ocean that is the world, and that I'm still surviving, and I'm still trying to understand what the world is like, and not given up on the fact that I still have a lot of hope that the world is okay and that we're going to get there. Hakuna Matata, no trouble, everything's going to be fine. I'm sorry if I didn't really have a concrete answer, but that's really where I am. But thanks, Bridget, for asking that question.
Thank you, sir. We'll have a concluding question from one of our guests, Cool, Bishop Cotton.
Hello, sir. I'm Adish. I've heard so many experiences about you when you were giving that presentation. I just wanted to ask, is there anything in particular you believe we can apply from your experience in the UN which you want us to apply more in our day-to-day lives?
Yeah, very nice. Thank you so much for asking that question. How many of you, all of you catch a flight, you're in Bishop Cotton, you're going to Bangalore, do you go back you're driving back to Bangalore? But you will catch a flight at some point. I suppose everybody's been on a flight, pretty much, all of you. When you get on a flight and you sit in your seat, do you say hello to the person sitting next to you? Do you say hello to the person sitting next to you? Huh? You say yes. Somebody said no. Say hello. Say hello, because you never know what that person may be able to add to your life. How many of you know your Chechi and Anna's names? Good? Very good. And those of you who don't know their names, ask them their names. Now, this is for boarding school students. You know, they have the young men and women who take care of them, right? In the dormitories, serving them in the mess and all of that. So 9 out of 10 times, these are nameless people, okay? And these are they may have even a name tag, but you may not, that's not your immediate contact point, right? You know, for instance, I tell you today, this afternoon, I was having lunch in the mess, and some of us, I was sitting with Kevin and I forget the names, but I was sitting with a bunch of 12th graders, and we had lunch together, and we all took our plates. We went there, and everybody said, "Thank you, Chechi," you know, who was taking the plates, right? And I really appreciated that. I appreciated the fact that everybody was saying, "Thank you, Chechi," to the young lady who was taking the plates and collecting the plates at the mess. What would be added nice is find out what her name is. You know, a name is such a big identifier. It's so important. You may be Ansh, I may be Shabrinath, doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, dignity starts with how you address somebody. And sometimes the best way to address a person is by their name, right? And give them that dignity. And it doesn't matter where they are from, what they're doing. So I always do names. I always focus on saying hello to the person sitting next to me, even if that person doesn't say hello to me. I will do my part, right? Because I don't know how that conversation will go, and I don't know how that will add value to my life. So I'm constantly thinking about what I can do to make sure that I'm doubly humble to people who are less privileged than me. Doubly humble. So if you have reached here, be more humble. You're up there, then be on the floor. maybe that's a way to take things forward. Yeah.
I'd like to thank Mr. Shabari for his patient and elaborate replies throughout the session.
Now we have the awaited award ceremony. I request the chief guest to remain on stage and invite our Secretary General to join him on stage for handing out the awards. Let's start off with UNSC. The verbal mention goes to Aradhana, the delegate of the United Kingdom. The high commendation goes to the delegate of Iran, Zachary. The best delegate is backed by Dia. Can we have a round of applause for them, please? I request all of the award winners to move out quickly as soon as the names are announced. Moving on to the Trilateral Summit. The verbal mention is backed by the Defense Minister of Yemen, Sayan Patel. The high commendation goes to the President of Iran, Eva Jen.
As well as this, the best delegate of the Trilateral Summit goes to the President of Yemen, Virat Vijay.
I request all of the delegates who have won the verbal mention to stand up in their places when the names are announced. Moving on to the WHO, the verbal mention is backed by Russia, Alopati Ambika Rupika.
The high commendation is backed by the delegate of China, Nitika Vaghani. And the best delegate of the WHO goes to the delegate of Germany, Pranav Jain of Bishop Cottons. In the Committee of the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime, UNODC, the verbal mention goes to the delegate of the Dominican Republic, Anubhav Agarwal, and the delegate of Guyana, Ane. The high commendation goes to the delegate of Canada, Arnavi Rekha. And the best delegate goes to the delegate of USA, Adish Dujeja of Bishop Cottons. Now, we have the Committee of DISEC. The verbal mention goes to the two delegates, the delegate of USA, Chergu Pinakin, and the delegate of Haiti, Advait Ilango. The high commendation goes to the delegate of UK, Dion Nibu, and the best delegate goes to the delegate of Canada, Kushaleshwar.
Moving on to spec poll. The verbal mention is backed by Arav Kailash Katepur, delegate of France, and Dhruv Mundra, delegate of Iran. The high commendation goes to Avyut Nagpal, the delegate of India, and the best delegate goes to Divya Mittal, delegate of the UK. Moving on to the United Nations General Assembly. The verbal mention is backed by Shania Samir Doshi, the delegate of USA, and Kanish Garg, delegate of Syria. The high commendation goes to the delegate of China, Gautam Mohan. And the best delegate goes to Anirudh Ram, the delegate of the United Kingdom.
Now we move on to the Historical Crisis Committee. For the verbal mention, we have V. Kritan Sid, the delegate of Italy. The high commendation is backed by the delegate of Germany, Maitek Agara. And the best delegate is Abhishek Jonathan S. of Bishop Cotton, representing USSR.
Moving on to UNEP. The verbal mention is backed by Aryan Patel, delegate of China. The high commendation goes to Adish Jain, the delegate of USA from Bishop Cotton. And the best delegate is backed by Dev Karia, delegate of Australia. I request Neve Karia to collect the award for Dev Karia.
We now move on to United Nations Women. For the verbal mention, we have the delegate of India, Tanush Reddy. For the high commendation, we have the delegate of USA, Manthan Shileshbai Ramani. And for the best delegate, we have the delegate of France, Vrishank Vedula.
we move on to Lok Sabha. The verbal mention is backed by Shashi Tharoor, Divyam Heda, and Narendra Modi, Manish Reddy. The high commendation goes to Rahul Gandhi, Sparsh Agarwal, and the best delegate is backed by Amit Shah, Harsh Chauhan of Wellington Public School.
We now move on to the Committee of Ecofin. The verbal mention goes to Yashwant Vijay Ghadak, the delegate of Germany. The high commendation goes to Agam Abhishek Lunawat, the delegate of USA. And the best delegate goes to Akshaj Valor, the delegate of Russia. We now move on to the last committee, ASEAN. The verbal mention goes to Tanish Palapati, the delegate of China. The high commendation goes to Nina Gandhi, the delegate of Republic of Taiwan. And the best delegate goes to Shravya Prem Kumar, the delegate of USA. Finally, we have the special committee held as a moot court, the International Court of Justice. The best delegate in that goes to Anirudh Ram S. of the delegate of Iran and Pranav Jain, the delegate of USA. Thank you, Mr. Shabri and Kaina. Now, we have Ved Zavert to deliver the expression of gratitude.
Good afternoon to one and all present here. Today, I do not stand before you as Ved Neeraj Zawar. I stand before you as a member of the organizing committee of GSMUN 2024 to deliver an expression of gratitude. It has been an extraordinary journey full of robust debates, lively declarations, and fantabulous resolutions. For this, I would like to thank our President, Mr. Jacob Thomas, and our Senior Vice President, Student and Staff Welfare, Mrs. Sarah Jacob, for allowing interaction with other students on a platform like MUN, and for being on board with this idea of an inter-school MUN. Also, for the wonderful evening yesterday. I think all of us can agree that last evening was fabulous. Can we have a round of applause for them, please? A special thank you to Nishant sir for giving us this fabulous opportunity and for trusting us. He was always there for us whenever we required help. We took all our strength from his optimistic spirit to any obstacle in our path. Thank you, sir, for everything that you have done for us. Moving on to our student body, I would like to thank Kaina Gulia, the Secretary General for the SMUN, for her immense support and her resilient spirit towards any crisis she may encounter. I would also like to thank Ridhan Dattani, the Deputy Secretary General, for his omnipresent help and patience with all queries, however small they may be. Also, I would like to thank Rajveer Chodia, the Deputy Secretary General, for his balanced personality and immense support in every matter. His witty inputs and calm arguments everywhere were insightful. I'm grateful to Nandika and our digital design team for their tremendous support in designing the ID cards, pamphlets, and flyers. Their zealous and unrelenting efforts have made this MUN an incredible success. I express my gratitude towards Sanjit, the head of photography team and the manager of IT and social media team. He helped in the smooth running of all these teams. His funny quirks and headstrong attitude help coordinate an efficient setup and organization of the event on all days. My gratitude also goes to Viveka Vardhan and Taran, the heads of the admin team, for their contributions to all aspects of this MUN. From printing the placards to setting up the room for the committee meetings. I'm also grateful to Nagal Pranav and his team, consisting of Hiya, Tisha, Sharika, and Anvita, for coordinating with other schools who joined us and selecting all the logistics. I also thank Arash Agarwal and the IT team for designing the website for this MUN. I would also like to thank all the delegates for their valuable insights and the Secretariat for their dutiful management. Furthermore, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the academic council members for their support and contributions. We appreciated their immediate readiness for any new idea or any proposal. I would also like to thank our campus managers, Mr. Shashi and Mr. Jackson, for their timely help and allocation of venues, and their team of Chechis and Annas who have worked tirelessly to ensure that everything is clean and neat. A massive thanks goes to Nandika, Sharika, Divya, Yutika, Taran, Nagul, Rishi, Dhriti, Hiya, Priyamada, Samaira, Anvita, Tishya, Nived, Ashika, Yuvika, Kritika, and Aditi for helping to plan and orchestrate the social event. Shout out to Mr. Suraj for the delicious dinner during the socials. At this juncture, I would also like to thank the delegates belonging to the Bishop Cotton Boys School and the Army Public School, Wellington. As I draw my remarks to a close, I am very thankful to all the people who made this MUN possible. I would like to leave you all with the words of Caroline Sampson. She said, and I quote, "Gratitude sweetens even the smallest moments." Thank you.
Thank you, Ved. Now, I would like to call upon Kaina Gulia, the Secretary General, to officially adjourn GSMUN 2024.
Kaina Gulia. Kaina Gulia, the Secretary General of GSMUN 2024, declared this MUN closed.
Now, I request all to rise and stand in attention for the national anthem.